Sveiki. Penkias savaitę, keturiasdešim penkias valandas išmokau lietuvių kalbą. Manau, kad lietuvių kalba yra sunki, bet man labai patinka. Aš esu mokytojas, aš dirbu mokykloje. Aš pradedu darbą 8 valandą. Kiekvieną dieną turiu kalbėti su studentais. Aš nesinaudoju kompiuteriu. I've done 45 hours of this, so I'm still doing the same routine of looking over the words. I give one tip is, especially if you've never looked at a language before, or if you're perhaps studying a little bit later in life, is really focus on the present simple tense, which would be, for example, I work in a school. And if you can learn that really well in a foreign language, then all the other tenses will fall into place really well. And what I mean by learning it well is really understand the verb, for example, which is work. Really internalize this word. Like in Lithuanian, it's dirbti. And if I say like I work is aš dirbu. I have that really well internalized, so that later on, when you start to change into different tenses like the past tense and the future tense, the main idea of the verb, the sound of that verb, is going to feel right, whatever tense you change it to. It's going to seem similar if you know it really well. And I would say learn the positive and the negative. In English it would be I work in a school, I don't work in a school, and also a question, do you work in a school, is the present simple question. In English we use what we call an auxiliary verb, do. In other languages they have something different. In Lithuanian they actually have something similar, which is a word at the beginning, ar. But in other languages like Spanish, for example, they don't have a word. They increase the tone at the end of the sentence. And other languages are slightly different as well, so that's quite a good thing to learn. Also learn what we call interrogatives, question words. Where do you work? What do you do? Who do you work with? Those words, and there, in my opinion, there are 5 or 6 that are very important, which would be where, what, when, who, and then how and why afterwards. If you can learn those really well, so that you can immediately produce them, then life is going to be easier for you. And also a lot of speaking. When people speak in a foreign language, it may seem like they're exactly the same as in their native language and they're speaking really fluently, but often you simplify what you're saying. So in English you might say something like, I don't know, I own a pet hamster. But in the second language, you might not say all that. You might just say, I have a pet, and that's all. So that's part of speaking. It's using what you have even though it's not sufficient. And then later on, you acquire these words, and you increase your vocabulary. Remember, learning a language, like anything, it's not something that you should really say, I'm going to learn it in 3 months or 6 months. You can do a lot in that time, but it should be a long-term goal. I would say try to think about it, okay, we'll be doing this for 5 years. If you're going to do it in just 3 months, then don't bother. I mean, it doesn't even make any sense. Would you just stop after 3 months? No, you would continue and you'd practice, you'd be finding people to speak with. There's no skill in life worth learning if you're just going to stop it after 3 months. You may as well continue very long term. So yeah, that's everything for now. So, iki pasimatymo. Sveiki, mano vardas Oliveris, aš esu iš Anglijos, aš gyvenu Barcelonoje. Man patinka mano kompiuteris. Mano kompiuteris jaunas. Aš turiu arklis, mano arklis rudas, šokolata yra rudas. Aš valgau šokolatą. Aš valgau banana. Banana geldas. Okay, I wanted to do something a little bit spontaneous and unplanned there, just to show that there wasn't anything that I was reading, really. That's quite difficult to do, I think, for anybody. But I wanted to show that there are actually just words in my head rather than things that I may have read. So I've done 50 hours, and I'm going to take a break, but continue in some form. I'm quite glad to have completed this challenge, though doing it every day is a lot. So the next steps would be to give myself the opportunity to speak by arranging a language exchange with a Lithuanian speaker and practice conversation about different topics and read more. I would say my true level, what I can produce, is between A1 and A2, or pre-intermediate, which I'm happy with. It said that you require sort of 200 hours to get to this, so to have done that in 50, I'm very happy with. If I continued, I would aim to get to B1 in another 50 or 100 hours, so 100 to 150 hours total, which isn't much, and I'd be quite content with that. I could have conversations with people. Of course, if I really wanted to take it seriously, if I needed it, then I'd probably do something different, like more intensively focus on visiting Lithuania, something like that. But that's really for people who need to have the language. So I'm going to show another example of where I am at the moment. Aš gyvenu Barcelonoje, Ispanijoje. Ta didelis, įdomus miestas ir man tai patinka. Tačiau jis yra šiek tiek brangus. Man patinka gyventi savo mieste. Man patinka gyvenimo būdas ir miestas yra gražus. Man mėgstamiausias dalis yra parkas, vadinamas Ciutadela. Nemėgstu turistų. Nenorėčiau gyventi kitame mieste, nors galbūt Paryžiuje, Prancūzijoje, lankiausi 5 kartus. So if I did this again, I'd probably focus on fewer words, because there are so many words I can't recall that I have looked at and don't even recognize. So these are verbs such as lose, ask, or nouns like towel or chips, adjectives like strange or lazy. These words, even if you showed me, even though I've looked at them, I wouldn't know what the word was. So I feel like this is lost time, as I really had too many words in total. The more you practice, the quicker you pick up the less common words as well. So they're not so important to memorize as the more important ones at the beginning, because you'll pick these up over time. If you keep going, you will just, you come across these words, and in that way they'll sort of go in. And of course, anything like this, it has to be a long-term commitment anyway, so you would want to be doing it in 6 months or a year. There's no point in starting it and then just stopping the skill altogether. Yeah, so many Spanish words are in my head, and I can't always randomly recall them, but when I need them, they come. So yeah, you can almost magically recall words when you require them. Yeah, and a small thing, since I was getting bored, I listened to music and did kind of easier things, but in the last few hours, I think, yeah, since I saw the home straight, I was just practicing a lot, just reading the same things over and over again. So yeah, I wasn't thinking about it outside of the time, but when I knew I had this hour every day, when I started, I really thought, right, this is my 1 hour to be truly focused and in the moment, just doing this and keeping my mind on this, because I want to build up this skill. I want to have an actual skill that will last and is going to be useful to me in the future. So yeah, that is everything for now. So for the last time, iki pazimatimo.